Welcome everyone. Happy New Year to 2026 to all our councillors, officers, members of the public and anyone watching online. Tonight's ordinary council meeting is declared open at 4:30 p.m. We're going to have a great year ahead of us. We're going to introduce a couple of new staff, very exciting, and we've got plenty ahead for the year ahead. 2 is opening procedures. 2.1 is acknowledgement of country. So the Shire of Northern would like to acknowledge the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, and embraces the vast Aboriginal cultural diversity throughout Australia. On the land of the Ballonong Noongar and the Whadjuk Noongar people where we meet, we acknowledge and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 2.2 is recording of council meetings. Members of the council are aware and members of the gallery are advised this meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded and is made available on the Shire of Northern's YouTube channel. If members of the public would like to have access to the recording of this meeting, they can do so via the Shire of Northern website. Item number 3 is attendance. As usual, I'll go from left to right, welcoming the councillors for another year. So we have Councillor Williams, Councillor Polton, Councillor Mancelli, President Antonio, myself, Councillor Girac, Councillor Ryan and Councillor Biglan. With the staff, we have the Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Terelic, Executive Manager, Engineering Services, Mr. Devsich, Executive Manager, Development and Community Services, Mr. Hunt. We welcome Executive Manager, Corporate Services, Mr. Streets. And we welcome Manager Planning and Environment, Mr. Barnworth. We'll introduce them as we go throughout the year to members of the public. Councillors will get a chance this evening. We have the Manager, Governance and Risk, Ms. McCall, and Governance and Risk Officer, Ms. Blase. Item 3.2 is apologies is nil. And we go to page 7 where we have item 3.3, approved leave of absence. Councillor Hughes has been granted a leave of absence from the 23rd of January 2026 to the 16th of February 2026 inclusive. Item 3.4 is absent, that is nil. So then we go to page 8. So item number 4 is disclosure of interest. As councillors are aware, they will make a disclosure of interest, be it financial, indirect financial proximity or impartiality for any item that is on our agenda tonight, and councillors can make the declaration before the item comes up. But we do have a number. So we have from Councillor Williams, we have item 13.2.1, RFT 10 of 2025, Northern Airport upgrades. It's an impartial interest. One of Councillor Williams' sisters and her husband are hangar owners at the Northern Airport. Same item 13.2.1, Councillor Biglan has declared impartiality as one of the tenderers is known to Councillor Biglan. So item 13.3.1, Councillor Biglan has declared impartiality. 13.3.1 is development application P25110 at 371/393 Smith Road, Blackline. Retrospective setback variation for water tanks. It's an impartial interest. The objector is known to Councillor Biglan. Same item 13.3.1. Councillor Mancelli has declared impartiality. The owners of the property are known to Councillor Mancelli. So then we have item 14.2, rates hardship. So we have Councillor Girac and Councillor Biglan are declaring impartiality. I'll deal with the full details of those declarations as those items come up, because they're behind closed doors. So that is item number 4. Item number 5 on page 9 is announcements by the presiding member without discussion. So that's taken as read. Then we go to page 11. So item number 6 is public questions. I do have some that I'll read out before I go to members of the gallery. So we have a question from Amber B. Cunningham. It's regarding the ordinary council meeting held on the 20th of September 2023. The agenda item is 13.3.1, Proposed Scheme Amendment 17, Avon Logistics Hub, portions of 239 Yield Garden Ave, Malabane. Summary of question 1. Are the roads within the Avon West Transport and Logistics Hub estate planned to be single lane or double lane? And what are the proposed carriageway widths? Response to question 1. The approved primary access road within the Avon West Transport and Logistics Hub has a reservation width of 30 metres. The design and configuration of other internal roads within the estate have not yet been confirmed and will be determined as part of subsequent stages of subdivision and development approvals. It is proposed that the internal road system will be designed to accommodate a range of restricted access vehicles, that's RAV, within the development. Summary of question 2. A 7.5 metre tall cryptocurrency mining server has recently been approved on the Avon West site. Under what land use classification was this development assessed and approved? What company, business or legal entity will be responsible for managing and operating this cryptocurrency mining server centre? The response to question 2 is the development was assessed and approved under the land use classification of warehouse/storage. Under the provisions of Local Planning Scheme Number 6, which is defined as a P, permitted use in the light and service industry zone. Details regarding the future management or operational entity of the development are not required to be provided as part of the statutory planning approval process. The Shire's records identify only the applicant, planning consultancy and the landowner. Summary of question 3. Why does the 18 April 2024 update to the Shire and Northern Locals Planning Scheme, in brackets amendment number 19, close brackets, relating to zoning changes to the environmental conservation portions of the Avon West site differ from the version supported by Council on 20 September 2023, end question, particularly in relation to the requirement for a conservation management plan and provisions for on-ground management relating to the protection of existing native vegetation. Response to question 3. The amendment relevant to the Avon West Transport and Logistics Hub is Local Planning Scheme Amendment number 17. The differences between the version supported by Council in September 2023 and the version gazetted in April 2024 arose as part of the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, DPLH, assessment process and subsequent ministerial consideration. During this process, amendments are commonly reformatted and reworded by the department to align with statutory drafting standards. Additional changes may also be required or made by the Minister for Planning prior to gazettal. These changes do not necessarily require the amendment to be returned to Council for further endorsement. Summary of question 4. Was the Shire's Local Planning Scheme Amendment number 17 assessed under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999? And if so, what was the outcome of that assessment? Response to question 4. Yes. Amendment number 17 was referred for consideration under the Environment Protection Act as part of the normal planning processes. EPA determination, referral examined, preliminary investigation and inquiries conducted, scheme amendment not to be assessed under Part 1B or 4 of EP Act, advice given, not appealable. Summary of question 5. Were any surveys for Carnaby's black cockatoos, such as tree hollow inspections, conducted by a licensed fauna expert at the site? If so, when were these surveys conducted? Response to question 5. Our black cockatoo assessment was undertaken as part of the Environmental Assessment Report completed in 2021 in support of Amendment number 17. This report was provided to the EPA and DPLH as part of the referral process. Summary of question 6. Is the Shire of Northam Local Planning Scheme number 6 compliant with the Planning and Development Act 2005? Yes. The response to question 6 is yes. Local Planning Scheme number 6 was gazetted on 21 August 2013 and remains compliant with the Planning and Development Act 2005. The most recent approval related to the scheme occurred on 14 November 2025. Summary of question 7. Who held the position of Chief Executive Officer at the Shire of Northam during April 2024? Response to question 7. The Chief Executive Officer of the Shire of Northam at the time in question was Ms. Debbie Terrelink. And I'll just check, is there any further questions from the public? No? So then we go to item number 7, is response to previous public questions taken on notice. That is nil. So then we go to page 13, which is item number 8, receiving of petitions, presentations and deputations. 8.1 is petitions, which there are none. 8.2, presentations, which there are none. 8.3, deputations, which is basically a statement. I do believe we may have one. What I've got to tell you, can I just get you to come up to this microphone and just state your name for the recording? There is a button down there to press just to
It's on here.
Yep, that's it, just so the recording. Thank you.
Well, my name is Anne Stewart, and I'd like to apologise. My husband isn't here, he's away working today, so unfortunately couldn't make it. Well, this has been a bit of a grind time. These tags have been placed for a long time, and there's been no complaint about the positioning of children recently. So when I looked at the agenda the other day and saw the outcome here, I was very pleased. And I'd like to thank both the reporting officer and the responsible officer, so we've got Jacob Smith and Chadman, for preparing all this paperwork for you to consider today. Was delighted with recommendations. It's really hoping the whole council and so that they're behind us and vote on our favour. As I say, at the time we put the tax in, we had no idea that we were creating any sort of problem with the size of the fence line. That was level set. We could put them on. And we've got the gravity feed, which goes to the house and to the workshop. And that seemed the most sensible thing to do, and they've been there, as I say, for such a long time, and now there's a problem. But I'm just hoping you'll sort that out for us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So there's no further deputations. So we go to page 14. We have item number 9, applications for leave of absence. We have a recommendation here, the Council grants Councillor Williams leave of absence 20th of March 2026 to 2nd of April 2026. It's fairly self-explanatory, so I don't need to ask the questions. And Councillor McKelly is going to move. Councillor Bigland is going to second. Is there anyone likely to speak against? All those in favour by a show of hands? That's 7-0, that's carried. So then we're still on page 14. We go to item number 10, which is confirmation of minutes. 10.1 is confirmation of minutes from the Ordinary Council meeting held 17th December 2025. Just want to check there's no queries from those minutes. Then Councillor Ryan is going to move and Councillor Williams is going to second. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by show of hands? That's 7-0, that's carried. Then we have item number 11, still on the same page, which is items brought forward for the convenience of those in the public gallery. So we are going to go to page 29, which is 13.3.1, development application P25110-371/393 Smith Road Backline, retrospective setback variation for water tanks. Just a reminder with this item that Councillor Bigland and Councillor Minichelli declared impartiality, and as both councillors have declared an impartiality interest in this item, and declare that they will consider the matter on its merit and vote accordingly. There is a recommendation on page 33, but as this is a joint forum and council meeting, I'll just see if there's any questions or clarifications. Councillor Ryan?
Just with regards to, actually on Google Maps, so looking at page 36, the agenda, it's got a map there of the Smiths Road as a dog leg. Is there it looks like there's a crossroad. What's the nearest crossroad? That it's got on Google, so it's got like the whole picture of where that parcel of land is situated with goes.
The nearest crossroad would be E9 or the one that runs off to the subdivision with the.
Yes.
Sorry, question. I don't know the.
Sorry, 31 reserve. So just looking at that map, sorry. So there's the dog leg on the left hand side of the picture. But there's a bit of a dog leg. Is Edon Springs Road to the right of the page or to the left of the page?
Yeah, to the left of the page, so to speak. So that's yeah, it's a fair way from Edon Road, Smith Road. So that dog is built on Smith Road. So yeah.
The location, Councillor Ryan? Yeah. Is there further questions or queries on this item? Councillor Bolton?
Does the close proximity of the tank pose a risk to emergency services vehicle access?
No, not depending on the reporting officer. I think that's was included as part of the assessment as a photo, I believe, showing access available between the tank and the fence.
Yeah. Further questions or queries, councillors? If not, there is that recommendation on page 33. Councillor Manchelli is moving. Councillor Gearhart is seconding. Is there anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by show of hands? That's 7-0, that's carried. So I did forget to say to members of the gallery, you're quite welcome to stay or go without reference to me at any stage.
That's okay, thank you very much. Thanks to everyone, very grateful. Thank you.
So we're going to now go back to page 14. Just go down to the page. So we've got item number 11. Item number 12 is reports of committee meetings. That is nil. So we go to page 15. So we have item number 13, officer reports. 13.1 is CEO's office. 13.1.1 is change in council meeting date June 2026. Recommendation on page 17. You're going to move it. Councillor Ryan. Councillor Ryan is moving. Councillor Bigland is seconding. Is there going to be anyone who speaks against? So all those in favour by show of hands. That's 7-0, that's carried. We now go to page 18. So 13.2 is engineering services. 13.2.1 is RFT 10 of 2025, Northern Airport upgrades. Just a reminder that Councillor Bigland and Councillor Williams declared impartiality in this item, as both councillors have declared impartiality interest in this item. Both councillors declared that they would consider the merit and vote accordingly, and as a recommendation on page 21, if there's no questions. Questions? Councillor Gearhart first, and Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just wondering, when I'm looking at the recommendation, it says figure $661,900. and that is not corresponding with the figure in the tender, why it's.
You want to answer that?
So the tender, if I look at the right, record is on page, page 21.
So the officers answer that, councillor. Just for interest of the page, the councillor Garrett is referring to as page 22, where the other figure, 22, and the recommendation is a different figure.
And the green, yeah.
Yeah.
The figure in the green, yeah.
Question two, depending on what we try and access the G drive so that we can get some access to the actual tender submissions. It's possibly due to the local price preference adjustment, what you just mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a question to councillor Garrett, if that's the way. Okay. Councillor Ryan.
It's but just, that figure that I also saw, but then in terms of overruns, I have the CEO leeway. What's scoping works that we've done, trying to help strategy we've got in place to try and minimize any overruns. I mean, look, it seems a bit bigger in terms of what they've provided us to the way our budget account is. But I'm always nervous with these types of projects, for the scales that might be left around on the site. Are we going to find any? I mean, are we fairly confident that we won't? I mean, I'm not sure, so I was just wondering whether we've actually done our due diligence. Yeah, I'm just thinking like when we did swimming pool, a few skeletons there that we just, yeah.
So I'll get the officers to answer that, that's all right.
So with the ground that we're operating in is fairly relatively newly built and none of the infrastructure is very old. I guess the skeletons have been discovered in recent history. In terms of the pricing, what we did prior to going out to tender was to have a really good look at some local recent prices that we've had for similar works, priced out the works, and then the tender that has been successful has actually come back really close to what our submission, or our anticipated submission would be.
And we just think no, did you have a question? Councillor Bolton, we'll go to the next question.
So just to clarify the big projects, when the budgets are constructed for these, we usually create 10% leeway for extra costs going in. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me just start a question.
So when our budgets are planned for these sorts of projects, we kind of need to incorporate a 10% surplus to cover any additional costs. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's between 10 and 15, depending on the anticipated, when we anticipate that it would run over or not, and then the complexity of the work as well.
Just the further questions on this item.
We may need to either hold or
So I've just checked the tenant submission and the amount in the recommendation is correct. We're just trying to work out what the discrepancy is because the price reference.
The recommendation from needs to change.
No, that's correct.
It's correct.
It's, so I've checked the tenant submission and it is correct with what the submission, that was submission.
Question, follow-up question to councillor Durack's question then. If the amount in the recommendation is correct, does that change the parameters in the confidential, I think they're confidential,
Yes.
in the confidential documents, I've got to be careful how I answer, does it change the parameters in the confidential documents then? Because the pricing may be different. I think I know the answer, but just want to double check.
The confidential document looks like the local price.
I think the local pricing has been applied.
Isn't number two closer to the recommendation than number one?
Yes, I never came across it in the past, so. I just.
Number two.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's 5:56. We're going to adjourn the meeting and have a quick break so we can continue on with this item.
But I think for future matrix, we need to include full price.
So the meeting
Yeah, I
is
think so.
re-adjourned at 6:03 PM. We're just going to have an answer by the officers to Councillor Girak's question, if that's all right, please.
So to clarify, the price that you can see on the assessment matrix is the local price preference adjusted price, which is a 5% reduction for the purpose of the assessment, so that the matrix can apply the appropriate scoring to it. The recommendation shows the full accepted price, which is correct with tender.
And just the follow-up question was, is this the way that we normally show in the pricing, in the matrix versus the recommendations? Is this the way we normally show?
Yes, so the matrix itself has to show the appropriately adjusted price so that it can calculate the scores properly. What we can do in the future is amend that so that we show both the adjusted price and the submitted price on the matrix, and I think that would avoid further confusion.
Girak, okay with that answer? Thank you. Are there any further questions on this? So we've got that recommendation on page 21. I'll move the recommendation. Councillor President, is moving. Councillor Bolton is seconding. Is there anyone likely to speak against? All those in favour by show of hands. That's 7-0. That's carried. Thank you everyone for your input on that item. So we go to page 29. We have 13.3, development and community services. We have already dealt with 13.3.1. So we go to page 51. So 13.4 is corporate services. 13.4.1, accounts and statements of accounts December 2025. Councillor Girak did put some questions in regarding his item, and there were some answers provided today. I just wanted to check there was no further questions. Councillor Bolton.
On page 55, there were some purchases for Christmas decorations for the Shire. Last year, during one of the strategic meetings, when we were discussing budget and costings, we came up with a budget for Christmas decorations. Are those purchases within those parameters?
Through the chair, yes, I think that the full budget was about $30,000, so they are within the parameters of the budget, yes.
Thank you. And I did have a question, which I know the answer to. I just wanted to confirm that it was 3 pay periods throughout December versus 2 pay periods. Yep, the answer is yes.
Yes, I believe that's the case.
Councillor Girak.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's just regarding the responses that I received for my queries. In regards to the consultancy services for the Lesser Hall and Town Hall, is there an estimate how much was allowed in the budget for consultancy, and how many more consultants we have in consultancy services we need to engage before the project is complete?
So the first part of the questions was, just to clarify, were you asking if we've made provision to engage a consultant as part of that?
The budget.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was a key learning, I think, from when the first initial budget was adopted. That was, we didn't allow for the voyage of discovery that we required to be done, so that we could make the most appropriate decisions moving forward. The second part is the consultant at the moment is engaged right in the final stages to produce the tender documentation. So they've done all of the consultation with the specific specialists in each area. Their scope was to develop all of the drawings and the tender documentation. Then what we'll do is, given the speciality of the project, the heritage and significance of the building, we'll retain that consultant throughout for consultant services throughout the delivery of the project. They can do all of the QA and that type of thing as well. So there'll be a small portion of, but we've already budgeted for that moving forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Bigman?
Just on, as Councillor Jerry can ask my question, in relation to the repairs for the $24,000, or what do we give, Create 298 and the Wandari Tennis Block repairs, the Wandari Tennis, the old toilet block had a budget of 30,000 set aside. Has this been attributed to that? Has that had its own budget? Dollar value, and now it seems to be mirrored in amongst the Create 298.
I think what's happened there, potentially it's been married together just for convenience of reporting, but the two, they absolutely did have two separate projects. The same contractor did both demolition works. So what it's referring to Create was the demolition of a small redundant power block, I think it was at the rear of the building. And there was a budget of $30,000 for the demolition of the Wandari toilet block, but that was not fully utilised.
But I just wanted to clarify that, sorry, Councillor Bigman. So that there was no budget taken out of the Wandari demolition.
I might also clarify the council recommendation in regard to the toilet block, I believe, was up to $30,000. So, while an amount of $40,000 was allocated, I think the council resolution at the time was up to $30,000.
Councillor Guerra?
And just a comment of that, I actually asked that question in my query, and the council responded to how much was spent for each.
Yeah, they're married together.
Yeah. So the response did not specify how much was for each.
We'll take that on notice and provide that information.
Further questions, councillors? If not, I have a recommendation on page 53. Councillor Angeli is moving, Councillor Bolton is seconding. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by show of hands. That's 7-0, that's carried. We're going to go to page 104. Is item 14, matters behind closed doors. We've got a recommendation there that we go behind closed doors. Councillor Bolton is moving, Councillor Guerra is seconding. It's procedural, so straight to the vote. All those in favour by show of hands. That's 7-0, that's carried. Then we're going to go to That's carried. And I need to do this first. No, I'll go back to mine. Okay, so I will go to page 3. So for people and watching online, we have matters behind closed doors. So we had item 14.1, minutes from the Chief Executive Officer Review Committee held on 17 December 2025. There's a recommendation received of the minutes. The council receives the minutes from the Chief Executive Officer Review Committee meeting held on 17 December 2025. That was carried. Adoption of recommendations. Recommendation that council accepts the Chief Executive Officer Key Performance Indicator Progress Report from 1 October 2025 to 12 December 2025 as presented in attachment 6.1.1 of the committee minutes. That was carried. Then we had an item 14.2 was application under CP.29 rates hardship. The recommendation was that council, 1, approves the payment arrangement of $100 per fortnight for the current owner of A12488 until 30 June 2026. 2, approves the payment arrangement of $100 per fortnight for the current owners of A78 until 30 June 2026. And 3, approves the payment arrangement of $400 per month for the current owner of A11761 until 30 June 2026. That was carried. Then we had item 14.3, purchase of A14486. So we had a couple of components to this one. We first had notice was given by 3 councillors to revoke the previous decision. So then we had a recommendation that council by absolute majority revokes the previous resolution item 4 in minute number C.5131, which was following acquisition of the property, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate the sale of A14486 from the Shire of Northern with adjoining landowner or landowners. An absolute majority of 5 was required. That was carried. Then the recommendation was that council approves the disposal of A14486 by public tender in accordance with section 3.58 of the Local Government Act 1995, with the total sale price being no less than $20,000 excluding GST. 2, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to undertake all actions necessary to advertise, assess and report the outcomes of the public tender process. That was carried. So that was all the items behind closed doors. Then we had a motion which was carried to move out from behind closed doors. We are on page 104 of our section 1 of the agenda. So we have item 15. Motions of which previous notice has been given is nil. Item 16, urgent business approved by decision is nil. Item 17 is declaration of closure, which is made at 6:23 p.m. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone to 2026. Happy New Year. Thank all the councillors. Hope you had a good break. All the officers for the reports and work. Hope you had a good break. Welcome everyone to a great 2026. Thank you.